Hey, welcome to the Jeff Kung Show. All right, this is a emergency pod because recently there's been some news about our good friend Simu Liu and a company called Bobba. It was on the Dragon's Den, a Canadian version of Shark Tank. Two people from Quebec who were pitching Simu Liu and the other investors on their Better For You boba brand called Bobba. It sparked a big controversy because Simu Liu on the show accused the two founders of a cultural appropriation, insensitivity, and was a bit offended by the entire pitch.
I am studying your can, and I am looking for anything that tells me where boba came from. And where boba came from is Taiwan. You know, I started this venture company for a lot of reasons, but really primarily to uplift minority entrepreneurs. And not only do I feel like this is not happening here, but that I would be uplifting a business that is profiting off of something that feels so dear to my cultural heritage. I want to be a part of bringing boba to the masses, but not like this. So for that reason, I'm out.
Some of his castmates didn't feel the same way and actually made an investment in the brand. Now, since then, there's been a large internet backlash amongst the Asian community online, and the investor actually pulled out today and made a statement saying that she was unaware of the cultural insensitivity of the brand. Now, to discuss this topic, I had to call my good friend Jason Chu. Welcome back to Jeff Kung Show. How are you doing, man?
Hey man, I'm doing good. I've been following this news a lot recently, and I think it's bringing up so many important conversations in practice.
Okay, so I'll give you my 2 cents first, right? I feel like the word cultural appropriation is thrown around too much and too liberally, but I do understand when Simu Liu was pitched boba, specifically this brand. He took the message personally because they were saying, just like in any business pitch, you first recognize the problem and then you offer a solution to that problem. Now, in this case, it was what is in the boba that you're drinking? How much sugar content is in that boba? And obviously in a pitch, you're going to want to enhance or inflate the problem that exists, right? So I could understand how Simu could take that personally, because if you're saying these mom and pop shops on the street are poisoning children and making your society obese, and this is a great solution from us to French Quebecers that will create a new boba and revolutionize the popping boba market. I can understand how that feels a bit personal, and it feels like an attack on us. And number 2, he said that the packaging didn't have any indication that this was from Asian descent or from Taiwan. So I get that, but I'm hesitant to call it cultural appropriation because making better for you products has always been, let's say, the trend in the past 10 years. So making a better for you boba, I don't really have an issue with. The one issue I did have was that, okay, we can make this a better version, and you should listen to us because we're maybe the I don't want to say the white people, but we're the people that know how to make this better than the Asians. So I felt there was an issue about that, and the fact that they didn't ever hark upon this is a traditional Asian drink. They said this was like not an ethnical drink anymore, and that's where I'm like, whoa, that's incorrect. You should pay homage, especially to the OGs or to the originators of the product, and say, okay, we want to make an elevated, evolved version of it. So what do you think, Jason?
Yeah, the conversation is it's such a fraught one, right? So for one thing, Simu's really good friends with our friend Andrew Chow, right? Founder of Boba Guys. And so I think, to me, cultural appropriation, it's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, right? No one has a problem with white people making boba. The problem is how you come into that market space, right? It's just like, we both got our start in hip hop, right?
Yeah.
So if we jump into hip hop saying, yo, I'm making the best version of hip hop, all of where it came from, all of the past, everything else that's out there is inferior. It's like people who start rapping and then the next thing you know, they're giving sound bites about, man, I don't think all of that thug life, gangster rap, I think it's all degenerate, and let me make some really good hip hop. That's the problem. Now, if you come into the space and you say, hey, there's a lot of incredible product out there, but we're going in this lane in this already established space. That's awesome. But all that we heard in that Dragon's Den clip was them saying it's sugary. We don't trust the shops that are making it. We're the first ones to do this popping boba, all of which is extremely disrespectful and inaccurate. So I don't think the problem's with the product. I think the problem that Simu had and that I frankly would have is how they're positioning the product and how they're relating to the culture and to the communities and the pre-existing market that already exists.
Now, do you think it's okay for people not of our culture to create the brand, to create a boba brand that may speak to their market more than ours?
Shit, man, I hope so.
Right?
I hope everybody's allowed to make good product. But the thing is, you got to read the room. And this is the problem with privilege, is that it makes it hard for us to read the room, right? Like, this is what I've learned, right? Like, as a dude, if I'm in a room and we're talking about women's issues, what my friends and mentors have always told me is I can contribute to the conversation, but I got to understand the conversation that's going on. And I think the problem is they're coming into this space that is ethnic, that is rooted in, literally in Taiwan. That's a product of national pride. They're coming in, and instead of saying, hey, we're going to join the conversation and we're going to add our 2 cents to what's going on, they're coming into the room and they're saying, this is our room now. We're the top dog in here. Nothing's wrong with people who are not from Asian cultures coming into the room, learning Kung Fu, learning Tai Chi, doing K-pop. That's all great. But when you come into the room and the first thing out of your mouth on a public platform is, we're the best to do it, this is better than what's out there, and to show no respect or reference to where it comes from, I think that's when the problems start originating.
It's interesting because the backlash upon all this has been so strong online. There have been their website, their Instagram, all their socials have been bombarded with people saying you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. I think it's an interesting lesson in business and marketing and messaging as well. Again, I'm more of a libertarian about these type of things. Do what you want to do and let the market speak for itself. And interestingly enough, the market has spoken for itself. Like I said, the originator, the original other investor on Dragon's Den has now pulled out. It's woken up these two founders to, I think, a lot of the realities of doing a Asian ethnic food and beverage brand and trying to market it. So I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of changes in their messaging and marketing after this entire little fiasco that they have experienced. Now, if they do change their marketing, if they do change their messaging to then be more sensitive to our culture, then would you be okay with a brand like this?
Yeah, man. Like I said, everyone deserves to make stuff they love, stuff they believe in, things that are good, and let the market respond, let the audience respond. I think, just like Simu's been saying on socials, right? It's not about a witch hunt. It's not about saying, hey, you're exiled, you're forever cast out. It's about how can we learn from this? I hope they stay in the market. I hope they keep making good things in a way that respects and brings value to the audience. If they do, awesome. Like, I'm all for a bigger table, Right,
because I feel like, okay, look, what if it was you and me pitching the brand to Simu? Right? And we went in there saying, are we sure we know how much sugar content is in the boba street, boba factory XYZ down the road? Are we sure we know what's in the tapioca they use? Are we sure it's organic? Are we sure it's this or that? And we described the problem that our business was trying to solve. And we were two Asians in there pitching it. Do you think he would have had such a big reaction?
Bro, I honestly think that if it's two Asians pitching the brand, we'd pitch it completely different. You know, not complete. It would be the same talking points, but just the way you move when you have that context of the room you're coming into, right? Like we'd say, sure, we're trying to innovate in X, Y, and Z ways.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think, you know, and honestly, it doesn't have to be even us as Asians. I think if those white ladies came in and they just said it a little differently, they showed a little more respect. They said, hey, there's some incredible, you know, boba is a market segment that's expanding rapidly. Here's the numbers. Here's the mainstream venues now that are carrying boba and popping boba. And we want to do all that, but we want to add our twist on it is we're using fresh fruit juice. We're doing popping boba in this way. That's totally fine, you know?
Yeah.
But I do think the difference is you and I would come in with a context of knowing that if we say some dumb shit,
Yeah.
it's not just anonymous people online that's going to be coming at our throats. It's friends and family. It's our buddies who run boba shops who are going to be like, bro, you kind of threw me under the bus here.
Yeah.
So to me, the core problem here was that they showed a disconnect from the community, the not even the Asian community, the food and beverage community.
Yeah.
You know, there's other people who are already doing good work in that space. They don't have to say we're the only ones. They just have to say we're one of the ones innovating, and this is our lane.
Yeah, you know, I find that like this interesting, like I find the interesting delineation of cultural appropriation actually boils down to respect. And
Yeah, 1000%.
Right, and how arrogant you are when you come in and try to pitch a product that I've been drinking my entire life, and you're trying to say this is a better version of that. It's like, all right, I accept that argument, but you have to say it with a level of respect and tone down the arrogance a little bit. And I think this would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah. I think, you know, cultural appropriation to me, it's never about the product.
Yeah.
Like, you know, bro, freaking, you know, Chinese people make weaves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Chinese people and Korean people are making weaves. You know, black people are doing incredible kung fu.
Yeah.
You know, I am the opposite of the person who says, don't try something from outside your culture.
Right.
I'm the dude that says, please do it, but do it in a way where instead of extracting it and taking it and ripping it out and saying, this is mine now, you go in there and you say, you know, I want to belong and be a part of the movement that's going on. You know what I'm saying?
But I think it's also a nuanced approach because, for example, I started the coconut water brand, Real Coco, right?
Yeah.
Now, there is no map of Thailand on here, admittedly, or Vietnam on here. It's purely just obviously a giant coconut, etc. You know, it's self-explanatory. Now, does it say where we're made from? Yes, it does. You know, in our marketing, do we say, okay, this has been used for thousands of years as a hydrating, electrolyte-filled product? Obviously, yes. But it looks modern, right? It doesn't look anything ethnic to it. Now, just like someone today would be able to open a modern-looking, let's say, ramen shop, right? Or a Chinese restaurant that looks more like Bauhaus type of minimal design. I wouldn't feel like anyone thinks that that's cultural appropriation, right? But so do you think that the design element of their bottle was too modern or too Western, and that was an issue?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that was a piece of the puzzle, right? Like, I think about so many of our friends, right? Like Sanzo, they're in beverage, they're sparkling water with Asian-inspired flavors. You know, my friend Michelle, she runs this clothing brand, Uprisers, you know, community-based streetwear. You don't have to, in fact, honestly, I think it's kind of corny to always have to lead with, yo, this is, you know, like
how Chinese it looks, right?
Exactly, right? Yeah. Bro, like you should not, if you, advice to the audience, if you're making a brand that's based in some cultural stuff, you don't got to overdo it. You can do you can make it modern, you can make it cool. But to me, it was about the whole picture that was being painted, right? In their whole pitch, they didn't say anything about, hey, you know, we respect this or we learned this, or shout outs to, you know, this particular tea shop that we got inspired by. They came in and presented it literally like they came in, and I remember one of the first things out of their mouth was, "You may not know what boba is." You know, they come in, and Simu was pissed. He said, "No, I'm very aware, but continue." Right. And I think it's not about, oh, your packaging has to have a cultural history of this and that's corny.
Right.
But it's when the packaging doesn't have it, when the pitch doesn't have it, when the founders aren't talking about it. You know, it all taken together paints an aggregate picture of your, you know, the way I read what he was saying was, in your pitch, I'm not hearing anything. Even in your packaging, I'm not seeing anything. Are you doing anything? Is there anywhere where you're going to talk about who and where this came from? Or is it just yours now?
Right. Because I think, let's say they did come in with an overly Chinese, overly Asian pack. That could also be looked as racist almost, right? Like, what are you doing? Right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like I hesitate to say that, all right, it's because it's foreigners doing something of ours. I mean, it's a very nuanced line that's there. But I think ultimately, like we kind of said, it's all about respect to the culture, to the ethnicity, to the product. And if it was handled that way, I feel like they would have dodged a major bullet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think about the example when we're talking about melding cultures.
Yeah.
I just put out some content about, there was this barbecue shop that in 2021 was named the #1 Texas barbecue by Texas Monthly. And one of the co-founders and pitmasters is this Lao guy, Nippon. And you know, I think that the way that Goldie's Barbecue does it is such an incredible example, because they show so much love and respect to the legacy of Texas barbecue, Terry Black's and Franklin's and all these spots. But then they serve Lao sausage on the menu. They serve sticky rice, you know? And so it's not this narrative of we're the best to do it. This is the new wave. We're changing the future. It's, hey, we're another part of this history and legacy. I think if you come in like that, you know, and it's literally right. The term is Christopher Columbusing. Are you going to Christopher Columbus this shit? Are you going to come in and rename this whole movement that's been going on? Or are you going to come in and participate as equals, participate as a part of the community, as a part of the community and legacy around this product? Or is it just, you know, yours now?